We got the dates. We got the dates. The NFL schedule has officially released. I'm joined by my friend Tony Tucker. We are here to discuss everything schedule reactions. We're going to be talking about the best games, the most drama-filled games, the revenge games, our favorite schedule release videos, our favorite week 1 games, week 2. I don't know if you saw the week 2 slate. The week 2 slate is insane its damn self. It's exciting. We got so much to talk about. Tony, how are you doing today? We're going to be buckled in here for about an hour or so, chatting schedule reactions.
I'm doing great. I always love this time of year, and I know that everybody does a thing where it doesn't really matter, but it's we love football. It's a reason for us to talk about things and be excited about things, and for fans to make ridiculous opinions based on nothing, which is what we do all year long anyways, guys. So just let us have this time. And I thought the schedule release videos for the most part this year were really, really good. I wrote down 10 of them that I liked. I'm gonna narrow it down. But there were a lot of really good ones this year.
Yeah, there was some really good. We're gonna talk about those in the second topic. Let's just start here with the actual games, because the videos are the videos and they're fun. And I am one of those fans that you're referencing to, Tony, that just wants to talk about football, anything about football. My videos from last night on the schedule reactions, I stayed up until 2 a.m. cranking them out. You know me. They're over 500,000 views already combined, which is insane on just one platform, by the way. That's not even including all the platforms, but that's just TikTok. You are right. People just want anything football. This is just a video of me watching other people's videos. You know what I mean? It's nothing crazy.
Yes, and people want you to like their team's schedule release, right? Because they're hyped about it. So if you were just enjoying it, I think I did catch the one of you watching the Commanders one, which was,
that was a good one. That was a good one.
Which when we get to ours, you're gonna see our age gap, in what you enjoyed and relate to and what I.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna get to that. We're giving a Mount Rushmore, our favorite schedule release videos this year. Maybe we'll do it every year and we can start comparing them year to year. But let's start here with my favorite game, I think, maybe of the entire year, is in week 1, Tony. Baltimore in Buffalo, I believe. How they just giving us this kind of steak filet mignon on the first week of the season? This is beautiful. I'm so excited for this game. I don't think that this game is going to matter so much because it's so early down the stretch of the season in the AFC race, but we're going to find out right away, what type of energy these two teams are on.
Well, so I do think that these type of games matter when you get down to playoff seeding, because I think
tiebreakers.
Yes, I think both these teams have a great chance to win their division. And if they both end up being 12, 13 win ball clubs this year, then all of a sudden we're sitting in a situation where it's hey, remember all the way back on September 7th, Sunday Night Football, when it was 33-38 and that team won, and Lamar Jackson jumped out to his early, third MVP winning season type play. So it's I saw this and I was the NFL really was hey, we're giving you in all these primetime spots, we're giving you who we think are marquee matchups and quarterbacks, even as to go for the Monday night game where it's hey, we got 2 rookie quarterbacks from that class with 2 of the most exciting play callers in the Bears and the Vikings on Monday Night Football. We're not going to disappoint at any point in any of these primetime games, because it starts off with the Eagles and Chargers and Chiefs, and every spot is for primetime week 1 is a reason to be psyched.
Yeah, they didn't hold back at all. The Chargers are in Brazil there on Friday. We're going to talk about the entire Chargers schedule later in the show as well. That first game to open the year, which we're going to do a deep dive on. Week 1, they deliver every year. They want to start the season off strong. But then when you even go to week 2, Tony, Monday Night Football, that Carroll versus Harbaugh rivalry is going to get renewed in front of the whole world early on in the season. One guy's got his back. One guy's got his back. I mean, it is going to be a good one there. And then also week 2, Super Bowl rematch in Arrowhead. No biggie. Just throwing that in there. Eagles, Chiefs. That's going to be interesting. And Philly who just destroyed KC in the Super Bowl, now goes to KC and gets to play them in front of their fans. I mean, just baked in storylines.
Yes. And then this is like week 2 is our first the Monday night doubleheader, right? So it's like I'll be totally locked in on the Chargers game, obviously, but then you also get Bucks and Texans, like 2 really interesting teams that I think people are going to be high on, you know, as far as like their overall outcome for this season there. But even a situation where it's like Falcons, Vikings in that game. Imagine a scenario in which
so some news just actually dropped.
What's that?
Chargers selling 10% of the team. Whoa.
But that's like, I feel like we hear about these things all the time, and it's really just to like for the owner to bring in cash.
Yeah.
Right. Because
to get quick money.
Well, yes, he's going to have like people are going to need to be paid, and he just spent $300 and some million on the bowl. So it's like now Rashawn Slater is going to want some money that's due in that guaranteed contract where it's like, hey, you know, like I think it's the way the NFL schedules or the NFL contracts work is they have to put a certain amount of money into escrow.
Guaranteed,
Yeah, it has to go into an account, even if it's not being paid out till later in the contract. All of the guaranteed money goes into an account that can't be touched. So, yeah, there's, you know, bills are due here. I'm sure Herbert's got a big check coming here soon, and Derwin's going to need a new contract. And he gives Khalil Mack $18 million, you know, fully guaranteed. Like, you need some cash to be able to run this business. And he has been spending a ton of money because you got to think about it from this way too. Like, he's also paying for a very robust staff, lots of assistants. You know, our strength coach, or I forget what his title is, but it's like Emperor of Physical Fitness or whatever Ben Herbert's title is. It's like that guy's making a good chunk of change, and Minter's getting paid. And I'm sure, you know, Roman's, you know, not hurting, not living in his house.
Let's get another investor in here. Let's get another investor in here from LA. Let's try and find somebody.
Yeah. The real question is like, who is it? Like, is it The Rock? Like,
I know. I saw it in the corner of my screen just barely go by. Chargers selling 8 to 9.5% of stake in the team. I don't know what they're talking about there, but we'll see. I'll look into it more after the show. Let's get back on track here, Tony. I don't remember what game we were talking about, but one that I have circled because I want to definitely gamble on this game and put my entire house in the Pittsburgh Steelers. With any quarterback, Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers, if Mike Tomlin has to suit up and go throw it himself, I'm taking him versus the Seahawks in Pittsburgh, week 2. DK Metcalf versus the Hawks. Sam Darnold reportedly had a choice between the Steelers and the Seahawks and chose the Seahawks. The Steelers are going to come out and F5. They're going to pull out wrestling moves on Seattle in week 2. That was one of the better revenge games in the first half of the season that I saw on there.
I think it would be better if the game was in Seattle and DK was coming back. You know,
he's coming home.
And
they boo him like they booed Russ.
And DK just has one of those plays where you're like, DK has a couple plays every year where you're like, this guy is the most impressive physical athlete we've ever seen. Right? He'll just catch a slant and he's just bigger and faster and running away from everybody. And you're like, this guy's unstoppable. He should have 2,000 yards a season. And then for whatever reason, it's always like around 1,000 with like 8 or 9 touchdowns. So I think it would be more fun to see that in Seattle. But I agree, like another fun game and 2 teams where the identity wants to be smash mouth football. Like what Mike McDonald wants to do is what Pittsburgh's identity has been for 50 to 60 years.
Yeah. You got any favorites from earlier on in the year or maybe first half of the year? The next one I want to jump to is like week 6. So,
you can jump around. I didn't get a ton of time to dive into the schedule as much as I wanted to. Yeah, I went to the Dodgers game last night. Great game.
Oh hell yeah!
Mookie Betts coming up clutch in the 8th inning, just double off the wall to kind of put the game away. But yeah, I think that those final 3 games on that week 2 schedule are really exciting.
Which ones are they again? Sorry, I don't have it pulled up.
It's just the it's Eagles Chiefs in the 125 slot, so that'll probably be like the CBS game. We'll get Romo on the call and Nance, like that'll be fun. Then Sunday Night Football is Falcons Vikings, and I'm telling you, Mike, like in that scenario, it's like, so you're there, you're the Falcons. Let's say Penix struggles week 1, he's struggling a little bit. Cousins doesn't get moved. No. It's in Minnesota.
There's the revenge game.
Speaking of like, like baseball, does he just go like, hey, he just taps on the arm, we're bringing in the righty, and then you just see old Kirk Cousins out there in a Falcons uniform.
Oh, man.
Throwing on some chains and taking the field. Leading the Falcons on a
chains are tucked, right? The chains are tucked, and he pulls them out.
He pulls them out. He's like, here we go, boys. Kirko's back. And then all the skull chants, there's nothing they can do to stop Kirk Cousins on his little revenge tour.
Oh, that one got me. I didn't even see that coming. Ooh, Justin Jefferson will probably be pissed if they lost to Kirk Cousins. I'll tell you that much.
And like for the record here, Falcons fans, if Mike cuts this up and makes me look like an asshole, I think
I'm gonna keep the for the record part in the cut.
Yeah, I think Penix is gonna be fine and he's gonna be good. He'll be.
I think he will be too.
They're not gonna make
so much around him. Like you got to at least be decent. If you're not good in that offense, you're just not good.
I don't think they're gonna make a move in week 2. Like I'm just doing this for the fun of the internet. Like I don't actually think Raheem Morris is gonna be like, I want to shake the confidence of my newly minted quarterback.
Hey, that's what Canales did to his. I mean, it wasn't just put into the game, but he just met Bryce Young and then benched Bryce Young.
Yeah, but that was also like he let him go 2 weeks, and that second game against the Chargers was like
hard to watch.
Bad. He wasn't seeing any.
It wasn't his fault. The O-line was a fucking turnstile, all 5 positions.
It was, but he couldn't even find the check down. Like there's a couple plays where he's looking to the wrong side of the field and the back is like over here, uncovered. It might be a 3-yard gain, but like, you still got to be able to get that ball to the check down, which he improved. Keep pounding.
How about week 6? I think that this rivalry is going to start to bud a little bit more this year, especially with this game being scheduled. Chicago Bears going to Washington to play the Commanders in the nation's capital. That's going to be fun. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a lot better this year. I don't think he was that bad last year. He was a rookie, made some rookie mistakes, made some rookie plays. We expected it out of him because of his play style to have some rookie moments. When you look at it overall, you look at it on paper, you look at the stats, you go game to game for the Bears, their offense wasn't good for the first half of the season, and then it got better on the second half of the season, and their overall numbers ended up looking good because it got so much better in the second half of the season. Like, I feel like Caleb got better throughout the year. I think he's going to continue to get better with Ben Johnson, and I think mostly by week 6, the Bears will have established a run game hopefully by then, and that's what's going to make this game a lot of fun. It's that cat and mouse game of the Commanders. Electric offense, elite quarterback, can score quick, can also take 10 plays to drive down the field versus a Lions 2.0 that we're building here in Chicago now. I think that game is going to be sneaky good, and I think by the time we get to week 6, the Bears will have shown enough and Caleb will have shown enough to have a lot of hype around this one.
I just think Caleb's going to have a better support system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like as long as he gets rid of the football in time more often, nobody's saying, Caleb, you can't do those exciting plays, those things that make you an extra special player. Like nobody's saying you can't just go and razzle dazzle. But what we are saying is you do have to play with a little more timing in the offense. You do have to say, like, get to the line and go, okay, here we are. I know that I'm probably going to go to this spot if this look presents. Here it is. I'm getting rid of. Because your offensive line also needs that chance. They cannot be blocking for 7, 8, 9 seconds for an entire football game. Like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And the athletes are too good defensively. But I think Ben Johnson, what he's going to put into the offense is going to be a lot of answers for him, like every play. And not to mention, the offense is loaded with talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Keenan Allen is phenomenal, but you're replacing him with an athlete like Luther Burden. So even at the very minimum, Burden should be able to get open just using speed often enough, like finding ways to get him either vertical or quick screens to him and letting him, kind of do his thing. But then you also have quick screen ability with DJ Moore. And is Roma Dunze going to be more in the Amon-Ra St. Brown role? Or is that DJ Moore? Like, they just have so many options. And then you have Loveland and Kmet at the same time.
It's stacked.
Yeah, it's a fun team where they went in, they took care of the offensive line. I actually have some high hopes for the Bears this year. And I think Caleb, I'm never going to judge any player, no matter how bad they are, on one season. Like, you don't make it that far. And a lot of times those guys just end up in really difficult to win circumstances. It's just what happens. And
I try to tell football fans all the time, you can use your eyes, guys. You can use your eyes. You can use your brain. You can use some logic. You don't have to just read the stat sheet and just go, oh, my God, the Bears only scored 14 points this week. They must have been absolutely garbage. I mean, maybe they drove down the field 7 times and failed, right there at the 30 every single time. Anyways, another game that I'm really excited about, Tony, and this is one that is very fun every single year. Postseason, preseason, regular season, I'll take it. I'll probably go to it, too, if it was in the area. Bengals on the road in Buffalo, week 14. This is going to be deep in the AFC playoff race. The Bengals are probably going to be in a very close divisional race. The Bills are probably going to be in a race for the top of the AFC, just assuming that they're as good as they've been. And, looking at their schedule, it's pretty light for the Bills this year. I think this game is going to be super important. I think this game, if it's not already a primetime game, it's going to get flexed. But Bengals on the road in Buffalo, week 14. Circle that one, guys. Circle that one. That's going to be exciting. We've seen some insane moments on the field from these guys on both sides of the ball against other opponents. And then we've just seen some bangers between each other as well. I remember that snow game in the playoffs a few years ago where the Bengals took it to them. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, wasn't that the end of the kind of the downfall with Diggs? Like, in that game, wasn't there like the standing on the sideline?
Eli Apple was doing his thing, and
not
in the sideline.
Back with my own quarterback. Like, I can't even talk. I'm so disgusted. It's a great game. I don't know if I'm buying the Bengals. Like, I just have a hard time.
You don't think they can hold it together?
I just have a hard time taking a team seriously that's like doesn't seem to be that invested in their offensive line or defensive line. Like, that's just not, those aren't teams that I'm like, hey, this is sustainable. Like, part of the reason that Joe Burrow had such an amazing statistical season is because the team was always getting throttled defensively. And that's when you're going to be able to put up crazy seasons like that, is when your defense really isn't that great. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you ask Joe Burrow, they'd like to be a little bit more complimentary, where he's not throwing the ball like 38 to 45 times every single game. So the Bengals are a good team. Don't get me wrong. It's not something that I'm like, you're telling me they're going on the road to Buffalo. I'm probably just going to go with Buffalo, even though I don't think there's a huge discrepancy between the quarterbacks. I did want to circle back to week 6 on something I caught really quick here.
Okay.
This could potentially be like the last Joe Flacco start for the Browns, right? So the first 5 weeks of the season,
the Ravens.
First 5 weeks of the season for the Browns are Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers.
Also, by the way, why did the NFL do this, right? They gave the Giants and the Browns the top 2 hardest schedules.
Okay, hang on. It's only like that because of the division they play in.
I know, but still.
You don't want a rookie's first 6 games to be that. It's why I think Joe Flacco is going to be the starter of the Cleveland Browns. So Joe Flacco starts on October 12th, and if things aren't going well, which according to this schedule that I'm looking at just on paper, I think this is probably like a 1 to 2 win situation through 6 weeks. And then you go to the podium and you say, hey, next week at home, we're getting the Miami Dolphins, then the Patriots, the Jets,
who's coming in.
Stretch before they get back into the Ravens, but the Ravens are at home there. It's like, I think that's where we could see the first Shedeur start or the first Dylan Gabriel start, is that sort of week 7 for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just throwing it out there.
That'll be Shedeur's first game as QB2.
Well, would you rather have Shedeur making his first start in week 1 against the Bengals,
No, I'd rather have him in there midseason too. I would start Joe Flacco if I was the Browns to start the year. I think it's comical that he has to compete his way into position to be the QB2. That's kind of crazy to me that the Browns have done this. But we already talked about this into the grave, that the Browns clearly weren't planning on drafting 2 quarterbacks. It's just the way the freaking thing fell. It was the last pick of their draft. Why wouldn't you take a guy that you had graded in the 1st round in the 5th round?
I don't know. I kind of disagree with the thought that, like, because I think if you don't have a quarterback, why not take 2 shots at the QB situation, right?
Well, you're already taking shots. You already have quarterbacks in the room.
Technically, yes, you do. You have quarterbacks, but like, do they think Kenny Pickett's the future of the team? Do they think Joe Flacco's the future of the team?
I just don't see what the point of trading for Kenny Pickett was then at all.
Well, you don't know how the draft's gonna turn out. Like, I think that pick, if Shadeur's gone, I think that pick still easily could have been like a Will Howard or Kyle McCord or whoever they thought was going to fit the offense. And then also too, there's the other side of the coin where it's like maybe the owner did kind of tell him like, hey, you got to go make this pick. Like,
I think that's what happened. That's what happened.
So
that's what happened.
It's always messy. We always talk about the Browns. And it's like,
we're going to hear about it eventually. It will come out. It's just going to take a few years. We will hear about it. Back to the Bills, Tony.
Yes.
How do they give the Bills? I guess it's their division, right? You got the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots. Although I do think the Patriots will be the 2nd best team in this division this year. I think they'll be right there competing in the wild card picture. I think the Jets will be better this year a little bit than they were last year, which is kind of weird, but it's all circumstantial. The Bills, based off of previous records, they have a top 5 easiest schedule in the league. I noticed that on the sheet, which is pretty interesting. I think that if you look at the Bills' schedule, right, they got the Ravens week 1. That's that big game on Sunday Night Football. But then Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, bye. Panthers, Chiefs, Dolphins. I mean, the Bills could go on a real run to start the year where they're looking at 1 loss, 2 losses, late into the season.
Again, if you're going to be this was the Brady thing forever, and it's with the AFC East for 50 years. It's been like this. There's always one team that is far superior than the rest, and the other ones are all trying to figure out what's going on. Like, how do we get a quarterback here? How do we get a coaching staff?
Yeah.
How do we get a culture and an identity? And you never get more than 1 to 2 teams, as opposed to like the AFC North, where it feels like they always have at least 2 teams. And it's been the Ravens and Steelers for as long as, most people can remember. But then you go to like other divisions, like it always felt like the NFC North always had the Packers and a really good Bears team, like a really good Bears defense, or a really explosive Vikings offense, or even a few times
competition.
Yes, Vikings defense. You can go around all the other divisions that's pretty much the case for, except for the AFC East, and then sometimes in the AFC South. AFC South also has a little bit of that, like, hey, the Colts are just crushing everybody because they've got expansion teams like the Jaguars and Texans that are still building cultures and identities and stuff like that. It's like, this is the Bills, to me, are still the front runners for another couple years. I think that the Patriots are kind of on the cusp of something. And if Justin Fields actually hits with the new offensive coordinator, Tanner Hankstram, who was there with Ben Johnson, if he gets Justin Fields comfortable and he has his sort of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith renaissance at his 2nd, 3rd, whatever stop it is now, then yeah, I do believe, like, when you look at the Jets roster, like, it's really, really talented. Maybe there's a little shortage at wide receiver, but you make up for that by having 4 awesome running backs, and I'm including Justin Fields in this. Like, you have 4 people that can carry the rock. So
I think the Bills have a good shot here to be a team that I like to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. And what do you think it's going to take for Buffalo to really go over the edge in the playoffs? I think for me, adding all these veterans in the offseason was a smart move. I think that's going to pay dividends down the stretch of the season. Last year, they were really young. They kind of took a little switch, on the previous era of the Bills and went a little bit younger. It still worked out. Team was still good because you have a phenomenal quarterback. You have a good defense. You have a good head coach. That young core just got an infusion of really good vets. A lot of Chargers too.
It's going to take for the laser technology to give the Bills the first down on the QB sneak.
They would have had it last year.
Come on. We already got the
passes, first down markers, 13 seconds. You name it, the Bills been through it. Come on, Buffalo. We're all rooting for you. Go on that special run already. Jesus. If it was going to be any year, this was the year to do it. Like, get our guys a ring.
As long as the Bills are not playing the Chargers, I do root for the Bills to have success. Like, it's just, I grew up in
yours goes even further.
My favorite teams to watch when I was young was those Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, James Lofton. Like, those offenses were so much fun back in the day, where it was like, oh, dude, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win this. You know what? Stop taking my lunch money. I'm going to pick the other team in this one. Fool me 3 times.
Hey, I'm laughing because I feel your guys' pain. Trust me. At least the Bills get there and then lose. We don't even.
I really did. Like, when I would talk to like family members or whatever when I was younger, I was like, oh, I think the Bills are going to do it this year. I think this is the year the Bills are going to do it. And it's like they just never did.
They just never do it.
Yeah.
One last point here. We already touched on the Giants and the Browns getting the hardest schedules, which is fun for them. Let's talk about another one. The team that was ranked the number 1 weakest schedule, but I think it's debatable because it's a tie on the numbers between like 5 teams. But the 49ers came in last year, so it makes sense. You get an easier schedule this year, have a top 3 weakest schedule according to last year's records. And I still think they're only going to win 8 or 9 games, Tony. I just can't get on the Niners this year. I don't have the full schedule plotted here. Like I marked it down when I made the schedule release video, but I just think that the Niners, they're still kind of resetting the roster and getting used to having to pay their quarterback $60 million. Also, everyone aged, and they're trying to figure out now who's going to step up and fill in some of these roles of veterans that they've lost really recently.
So I'll talk about the 49ers, and then I'm going to give you a couple of schedules that I went and looked at of teams that I looked at their drafts, I looked at their off seasons, and I was having trouble sort of where I was going to start the early predictions, where I start sort of stacking and ranking each team. But in the 49ers case, it's like, can the offensive line like hit, and can CMC be healthy for like 13 games, 14 games this year? Because if CMC is healthy, they're going to win a bunch of games, Mike. And I know that they loaded up on defensive players that people might not necessarily be familiar with or whatever, but I think Robert Saleh is going to make that stuff work. You really need that one guy that's going to go get it. They have that in Nick Bosa. They have Warner, and like they still have some continuity. There are holes on the team. Obviously, they're going to be there, but like Juwan Jennings is a good wide receiver. Like Ricky Pearsall showed highlights. They still have George Kittle. Like, they're going to still be a good team. Now, do I think that they're would I rank them over the Rams? But I have them right there in that area with the other 3 teams in that division. Which one's going to stay the healthiest? And is Kyler going to stop making crazy errors on the road every year? Like, last year I was with the Cardinals. I just kept saying, this is the year the Cardinals are about to go on a run. And then it was like every time Kyler would just be like, well, here's a punt interception in the red zone. I'm like, why are we throwing that ball? We had 3 points. Like, just throw it away. And it was just the same thing over and over. I can't count how many times I lost on the spreads there.
Well, that's something the Niners don't have a problem with. You know that. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be put together. Their system's set in place. I do have my doubts about Brock Purdy still, Tony, also. I think the day is going to come where, he doesn't have Trent Williams there to hold up. And Brock Purdy is going to have to be a $60 million quarterback, and he's just not. He's just not. And that day is going to be the day that all Niner fans are going to turn on him too. And they're all going to want him out of there.
So it is one of those situations where, like, and this is kind of my problem with the Herbert haters, where it's like, if you just always doubt, eventually you're going to be right about it at some point, right? Like, it'll just be
7th round pick. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to be right.
You're probably going to hit the nail on the head at some point. For me, he's shown me enough to where it's like, I would not pay him $55 million. I wouldn't do it, but I understand that, like, you're not just going to ask Kyle to rebuild up somebody else at this point. And they still do have some really good players on the team. Yeah. It's not as loaded as it was, and it won't be that going forward since they're paying Brock. A couple of schedules I looked into. The Vikings, Mike. They have the back-to-back games on the road overseas. I think they play in like 1 week in
I remember that one, yeah.
In London, and then they play the next week in like Germany or something like that. I don't know. Internet, leave me alone. I didn't look to see which overseas games they play. But then they get a bye, and they come back, and they have at home versus the Eagles, on the road against the Chargers, on the road against the Lions, at home against the Ravens, and then at home against the Bears. That's that 5-week stretch after being
there nicely. Yeah, just put us right in there in the middle of their fucking hell.
The road for 2 weeks, it's like you're going overseas for 2 weeks, and then you got to come back and sort of you get a bye week. The players are going to go away. You kind of got to get everybody back on like the time zone or reacclimated, and people aren't going to have seen their families. I just think that's a brutal schedule to come back, and then you get a home game, and then you got to fly to Los Angeles, come back, and then you get the Lions, and then you get the Ravens.
There was some stat out last year that teams playing the Lions or Chargers, no matter what, whether they win or lose, the next week had only won like one game the entire season because you get so beat down the week before playing the Lions or playing the Chargers that you need to recover the entire week after. You don't get to game plan or prepare for your next opponent.
It's
you got to play them back to back. Good luck, Minnesota.
It's one of those situations where like it's why last year some of the better teams who were able to make it through against the Chargers, and then let's say like a Ravens team is able to have success the next week, is because you have the right coaching and depth and everything, all the preparation that goes through there. You're able to communicate with the veterans and say, hey, how's practice going to go this week? How much is the game plan going to change? Like just being able to do things that are smart. The Commanders, like you said, Mike, the final two of the last 3 weeks, they play the Eagles twice. I think that's going to be for the division because really their schedule doesn't get hard until like around Thanksgiving. And then they're going to be on the road for the Vikings, on the road for the Giants, Eagles, home for the Cowboys, away to the Eagles. Like, but I think that's the part where the Commanders, if healthy, are like, hey, let's go get the division. Like it's time for us to just go ahead and start winning some games. The Lions, there is a brutal stretch to start the season for them. They do get the Browns at home in week 2, but other than that, it's like, not week 2. In September, Ravens on the road, home for the Browns, on the road for the Bengals, on the road for the Chiefs, at home versus the Buccaneers. 4 out of those 5 games are playoff teams and like Super Bowl contending teams in that stretch. And they haven't even, and this is like, we're not talking about any divisional games where they still have to play a really good Packers team. Vikings defense and team is going to be tough overall. And then the Bears, like those are, which is improved offensively, pretty solid, pretty strong defensively, like really tough for them. How about my Carolina Panthers? Quick shout out here for my boy Harrison. They get to start the season, Jaguars, Cardinals, Panthers, Patriots, Dolphins. Keep pounding, Mike. How about a little love for the Panthers?
Let's go over that again. Jags, L.
What? It is on the road. It is in Duval.
Yeah, the Jags don't be pumped for that game. That's the week 1 game, right?
Yeah, so they actually start off on the road 2 weeks. The start of the season on the road 2 weeks in a row in Duval, in the desert versus the Cardinals. Then they come home. They get the Falcons. Then they go on the road to the Patriots and then come home for the Dolphins. I'm saying, this is what I'm saying.
They're going to be 1-4. They're going to be 1-4.
This could be a 4-1 start for the Panthers. Their schedule does get pretty brutal at the end of the year where it's like, oh shit, the way they stack the schedule against them. It's like, if the Panthers don't win early, I'm not confident that they're going to win late. And then Jacksonville also, I think, has an interesting.
It's going to be a fun team to keep an eye on all year. Just keep a corner of your eye on the Jaguars all year. Just watch how much fun they're having there in Duval, even if they're not winning games.
I think Jacksonville has an interesting schedule late in the season, starting around Thanksgiving, November 23rd. They go to the Cardinals, to the Titans, home versus the Colts, home versus the Jets, and then they play the Broncos right before Christmas in
They could
Denver.
be a
But
team
there's
that turns it around immediately. They got all the pieces there. They could just flip the switch right away. You got a quarterback. They do have a lot of work to do on both sides of the line that we've talked about already. But hey, man,
late in the year, they get on a little run. They get hot and sort of like around Thanksgiving, post Thanksgiving, and sort of win 5 of 6 games there headed in, because the final 2 games of the season are like Titans and Colts or something like that. So it's like after the Broncos game, it's Titans Colts to finish the season. I think it's 7 of their final 8 are against teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. Like that's an opportunity for the Jaguars to be like, hey, we turned things around this year in one season. Could be
Cohen. We're changing the Duval chant, by the way. Duval. That's the better one anyways, right?
I'm glad everybody got in their shots on this, because this to me is like, this could be his kneecap biting moment. This could be his awkward Sirianni press conference.
He got brought up in the schedule reaction or schedule releases like 6 times. I saw it all over the place.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you? Because it's really difficult to watch. I remember when Joe sent it to me, I was like, I never want to see this video again. It was almost like watching like somebody,
maybe it's the cornball in me that likes corny dudes just being corny and not caring. Everyone else around me is here, and I'm just gonna keep doing it anyways.
I'm fine with being corny too. I've been accused of it. Don't give a shit about that as a narrative. It made me uncomfortable to watch him the way he was like. It was like sing-songy and weird. I just was like, he needed a redo. And the other thing too is like they watched this. Like somebody on the social team watched it and was this is nobody gold. Around him, nobody there was like, "Hey, coach, I don't know how to say this. Let's go ahead. Let's run that back. Give me something a little more aggressive." That was good, but quick note: let's do anything but that. Like there are director notes whenever you're filming something where somebody says, "Hey, let's go. That's good. That's a good start. Let's try another one and see what we do." And we pick the best one.
Everyone else said, "Oh, like that was bad," right? Everyone in the room is questioning that Duval, but the social media director only was like, "That was gold.
Yeah,
get that out right now." That is gold. He's the only one that knows that you need these kind of weird, cringy things. That's what makes it go more viral, is when it happens by accident like that.
And I really think Liam Cohen can coach the offense. I don't know if he can be a good head coach. Like I don't know if he can do that, but the second half
Baker story? You heard that Baker Mayfield story in LA?
I didn't. Real quick though, the second half of that game, Bucks Chargers last year, like there were some missed tackles, so he still like didn't wrap up against Mike Evans, big explosive play on the field, but like he really did kind of like open things up and take advantage of that. Baker Mayfield story. What was it?
Oh, I mean, just really quickly, when Baker got traded to the Rams and had to play that game in 2 days, basically Liam Cohen was on that staff. Yep. Didn't know that, and probably part of the connection to Tampa Bay as well. But Liam Cohen, I guess, stayed up for like 2 days straight and just taught Baker Mayfield the offense, taught Baker Mayfield everything. He just did not stop calling him, was on the phone with him, in person with him, just constantly working with him, because he already knew that they were planning on playing Baker Mayfield the second they acquired him. Baker was told that he's not going to play in that game. So it's like, I guess Liam Cohen was like an agent of Sean McVay to like get Baker Mayfield only ready for this game. His job for that week was we were just going to drill Baker Mayfield they had no one else. They were stuck. And then they ended up beating the Raiders with Baker Mayfield. It was absolutely exciting. But like Liam Cohen, those type of things, those little moments, that's the type of stuff that separates a coach in the player's eyes, in Baker's eyes.
So I agree with that and love that story. If I recall, I don't think Baker's the quarterback of record. I think they started somebody else in that game, and he
Baker
came
comes in
like the second series of the game or something like that. It was like, Al Michaels like woke up and was like, "Hey, everybody, we got this guy's only been here for 48 hours and he's going to start in the game." And it's like, yeah, this is about to get really interesting.
Finally, we got something interesting on Thursday.
One of the greatest situations ever happened. I remember how pissed off Joe was, and that was really fun for me.
Baker. All right, let's go to our schedule release Mount Rushmores here, Tony. We're giving our four favorite schedule release videos. The schedule release Mount Rushmore for 2025. I'll go first.
Okay.
Let's start with one that really impressed me, and that was the Arizona Cardinals, who had Mac Wilson, their linebacker, write a song about their schedule release. That was sick. I was bobbing to it, and it could have been a bad song, like a parody song, like a jokey song, and it's still been good, right? It could have been awful, but this is something that I actually wanted to add to my playlist. If you guys have not heard the song that they wrote for the Cardinals schedule release, it's a bop. It had me going.
Yeah, the hook, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I remember like I listened to it last night, and I was like, okay. I was like, yeah. this is good. I was gonna listen to it again so I would have that hook in my head, but
it's all like shots, like 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4. But it's obviously, they're talking about games. They're talking about bars and games. Yeah,
and he does the videos put together well. It definitely gave like a very 90s MTV, like after school, I'm getting ready to go outside and play like street hockey or something, or football or whatever it was after school, and I'm listening to like all the videos back in the day, and I'm like, okay, here we go. This is good. I really like that.
That's my first slot. I'll let you give yours now.
So I'm gonna go with, and I'm gonna start, if I'm building the mountain, right to left, and so then that's my number one spot. That first.
Okay.
First one on the mountain.
I didn't put an order. I didn't put them in order. Obviously, you know who I'm going to pick for one.
I'm doing it on the fly, Mike. It's not like I didn't do. I have some ones here that I thought were interesting and different. The tattoo thing, like I didn't Google it. Yeah. Some of those looked real. Some of those looked like they were raised. Like there looked like there was actual tattooing going on there, which kind of freaked me out. They're not going to make it. I did want to give. I don't like the Raiders in any way, shape, or form, but when Max Crosby punts that bull, when he's like, fuck it, and he just does that thing and he kicks that shit cracked me up pretty good.
One thing about the Raiders, though, but while you're thinking, one thing about the Raiders fans, you guys do realize that the Super Bowl thing and bragging about the 40-year-old trophy, like that only works on like 3 teams. Only 3 teams haven't won the Super Bowl in the last 40 years. So you're only talking shit to 3 teams. It's like all the Cowboys fans are like, oh, we own you guys. You have 0 rings. Well, then do the Cowboys own the Raiders? And do the 49ers own do the Steelers own the Raiders then? Is that what we're saying?
So the Raiders don't have a lot, Mike, and that's their one thing. Like I don't know. Let's not get into that. I'm sorry I said anything nice about the Raiders.
Too many group jokes for grown people to be making. Just saying.
Okay, here's the one that just missed was the Seahawks, the 90s throwback toy commercial. That's the one.
That one was weird. That one threw me off.
Because you're not from that generation, but I am. It's like He-Man action figures and G.I. Joes and that shit that like I used to, when I grew up in Michigan, very low income. I would collect pop cans. You get 10 cents a can in Michigan, right? When you collect cans. I would collect cans just to go down and get some of those action figures that you would see in the commercials back in the 80s and 90s. And I would be so like, it would come on and it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, I got to go down to Shopco and get one of those. Okay.
Wait, is this one on your list or are we still doing the honorable mentions?
That was the honorable mention. That one just missed. I gave shout outs to those other ones. Here it is, Mike.
Okay.
Number 4 is the Giants. The team stereotype one, when like they do. So as like, I used to write sketch and stuff like that. They did this. They put this together really well. The performances, it looked like they got actors or whatever they did. They just did the stereotypes of every one of their teams, and it was really funny. It's like one that I'm going to go back and watch again.
I need to watch that one. I didn't see that one.
The Giants one is just it's really well done. Like it's funny the way because they have the Chargers on there, and it's like they're making fun of this. Like they go through all the teams, and like the Eagles.
I didn't see that one. I think I saw them all. The Eagles one was one of my favorites. I didn't have it on my list, but.
The Eagles one is not one of my favorites. It just was. It's
because this is where we don't click, Tony. You didn't realize that was Ric Flair's music, did you?
I don't.
The reason they're doing that is because Ric Flair is the 16-time world champ. Woo!
I get the it's just not, it just wasn't enough. We're talking about the slow motion one of the Super Bowl trophy.
Yeah. It's just the music. I like the music. I didn't have that on my list, but
I get it. Yeah, I just there wasn't enough in it. Preparation. But that's go back and watch the Giants one. They have the Eagles guy in there, the guy who represents the Eagles. And it's so funny the way he's so like, if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, this is the way you depict me? Like,
all right, the second one I'm putting on my list, Tony, is one of my favorites this year because of how much commitment Herbig and Keanu Benton put into the gimmick. Like, they were squatch hunters out there, man. It was so much fun. And like the actual schedule release portion of it is like such a small part of the video. Like, I didn't really care about the schedule after like 30 seconds into that thing. Like, I just wanted to know what was going to happen. I already knew the second they said that they were squatching that this was going to have Cam Hayward in a Sasquatch costume. I didn't need to see the payoff, but the payoff still was just as gold. You see the Squatch lining up against the tree and running interior pass rush moves. It's so perfect. It's so they're watching the tape back. They're like, we finally got footage of the Squatch, and he's running.
He's working on like up and under moves and stuff. Like he's swimming the tree and he's getting in there like digging out like a tree branch and stuff. I really, you're right. That was when that one hit. It was a little weird and awkward and like these two dude. It was almost like dude, where's my car vibe for a second. But I thought everybody did a really good job. I thought Steelers fans, if you watch this, was anybody else thinking Brett Kiesel was going to like pop out of the tent? Like Steelers fans will remember like Brett.
Well, last year was the dad jokes one, and they couldn't get James Harrison to laugh. The Steelers are on it, man. Good job.
I don't even think I would try. I think the Steelers had another good one in 2023 too.
He made a bald joke, and then James Harrison was like, "Why do you think I would think that is funny?"
Yeah.
Just staring at him.
I think he's built not to laugh too, not to find anything amusing. Okay, since you put the Steelers on yours, they probably would be on mine, but now I'm going to bump them out for another one that's like my nostalgia here. And I'm going to give some love to the Atlanta Falcons Mario Kart, because that was a game that like me and my friends would play. It was sort of like, I'm in that era of like James Bond when it first came out on Nintendo 64 and Mario Kart. We would play that till our eyes bled back in the day. It was so much fun to do that. And I just thought that it was very nostalgic for me to sit there and watch them, like, you know, the bananas, but they threw like chicken wings at like Buffalo or something, I think. And then, you know, there was a spiky football thing in there. They're jumping, flying. They win the race at the end. And then there's the podiums at the end, and they have the Saints off the podium. Like it's
like they didn't make the race.
Yeah, like they didn't even qualify, but they're there as for like the division at the end. So Falcons, well done.
That was a good one. I like that one. That was on my short list of honorable mentions too. I like what the Falcons did last year too. They were the team that did the NFL Street. And they had, I think it was it Bijan again? Yeah, Bijan running through Atlanta and juking out a bunch of opponents and stuff. That one was cool. And then they bring the Mario Kart one out. That one was sick too. The only thing is, Tony, but you know, I'm about to go against exactly what I'm about to say because you know how much I like to contradict myself. I can't put you on my Mount Rushmore when y'all are copying the Chargers. The Chargers made this whole video game, anime style, trendy schedule release thing, and now every single team is copying them to a point that the Chargers made the Minecraft one this year, which put the Chargers on my Mount Rushmore right here because they won again. They had the best roasts of everyone by far, and I feel like that's really what this competition has become, is who can roast who the best. So Chargers take the crown again, but everyone is copying the Chargers to a point that we saw multiple Minecraft ones, not just video games anymore. Now they're even stealing the exact same idea.
But I don't think that they knew that the Chargers were going to do Minecraft. Like, how would they know that? You think they called the Chargers and were like, hey, we know you guys are typically in the animated space.
Yeah, you guys did Sims. You guys did the other video games. You know, maybe you guys are going to do video games again, and Minecraft is the last one left.
Yeah, but you can't. You then compete with them. That's what the NFL is all about. Like, this is what our coach's motto.
Yeah, that's why I'm about to contradict myself and fill my last spot on my Mount Rushmore as the only schedule release video so far to be so bad, to roast opponents so hard that they were forced to take it down by the NFL. In Indianapolis Colts made a schedule release video that copied the Chargers. It was Minecraft, but it was so bad that the NFL and sponsors had it pulled down.
I haven't seen it. The only
I
thing
know, because it's not going to get out anymore. I saw it once, and I think the big hubbub is the fact that they actually had the Coast Guard pulling up on a dolphin and arresting it. Like, Tyreek Hill got arrested. And then they also had Will Levis getting hit by a bus. So I think they crossed the line on murder and I don't know. I feel like the Tyreek Hill thing should have been free game. The Tyreek Hill thing should have been free game.
I didn't see it. I just saw some screenshots that were sent to me about why it did get canceled. I don't know. I didn't see it, so I won't comment.
If you get canceled, you're getting on my Mount Rushmore. So that's my 4, Tony. I think you have 2 more spots.
I do.
I got the Arizona Cardinals for the song, the Steelers Sasquatch one, the Chargers Minecraft, and the Colts Minecraft. The Colts for getting banned, and the Chargers for getting copied.
That's all good. I'm gonna go number 2. The Titans did a pharmaceutical parody.
Oh.
Like I said back in the day, I used to write sketch, and one sketch that you really start to get popular and you start to kind of really work on your writing ability and stuff like that is pharmaceutical sketches. And I thought they did a great job at the end of making those jokes. I thought the performances were really well of the schedule Rizzy and and it was short. It wasn't too long. I think it's like 90 seconds, which is a good length for a schedule like that. It feels like one of those ads you'd get on like Hulu or, whatever you're watching, just pops up. But it's funny when they go through the symptoms of all the teams. That one really made me laugh. And then I have the Chargers number 1. They've done this. They've been able to do this thing where my son's he wasn't really big into sports. He's become a big basketball fan and he likes to play Madden. But like one thing that we look forward to is watching the schedule release video. So like I was at the Dodgers game last night. We didn't get to see it. So we watched the schedule release before school this morning. And he's sitting there and he's like going through all the Minecraft stuff because Minecraft is his game. He's like, oh, look at this. And this is when you delete a level or you're right here. You're about to win the championship. And then they come back and it's like, he's like, oh, look what they did to the Chiefs. And I'm just like, and he's super excited about it. And then I get all the other jokes that are kind of built in there as things that they're poking at these teams. I really enjoyed the Mike McDaniel one where he is running off the field after the on-field interview. I thought that was a fun way, and he's just like swimming to the locker room in this version of it. I thought that was a fun little twist. But
how about the Cowboys one where they're in the stadium, right? And Dexter Lawrence and Micah Parsons are arguing underneath the blinding sunlight coming through the windows.
Yes. The fight between Rap Sheet and in the Starbucks there was great. There's a couple more references during that credits scene that I thought were really, they get another Aaron Rodgers thing in I didn't really get. And then the thing that my son was most excited about, because he went and saw the movie opening weekend and then heard about the like popcorn thing for the chicken jockey joke or whatever this phenomenon is. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I know very, very little about Minecraft. Okay. And he's just sitting in there. He's like, oh, look, he's like, that's so great. It's like they're Minecraft characters watching Minecraft. And he's so excited about it. I'm like, this is really cool. It's just another opportunity for me to bond with my son and for his Chargers fandom to take another leap there, which is really great.
Well, the one that got me in the Minecraft space, I guess, in the building video games, the game that I used to play was Roller Coaster Tycoon. When I was really young, I played on a giant box computer. It's crazy that my Mac is like this thin. To think about the giant computer the size of my desk I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon on.
You should have saw the TVs I watched as a child.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It'll probably really take me back. But there's our Mount Rushmores for the schedule release videos. You guys are watching. Oh, you got one more?
I got to do one more.
One more.
It's a little long, but John Gruden is he's so much fun to watch. Like he does the unboxing video for the Bucks. Like he does one of his
yeah.
and he just keeps the energy level at a 10 for 10 minutes. And that's a really tough to do. But and I know there's cuts in there, so he's probably able to like ramp back up. But it's a fun 10 minutes. I watched the whole thing, and I just think John Gruden's very entertaining.
John Gruden is one of the most annoying people ever, because he is like literally like he's like if my personality was just let out, just constantly, that's just me, just always yelling, screaming, excited about something. But then again, I hate his guts. Like I just can't stand him at the same time, even though I relate to him so much. All right, that's our Mount Rushmores for the schedule release videos. Let us know your guys' top 4 favorites in the comment section below, whether you're watching the clips or the full podcast version of this. If you guys want to go watch more clips, we did our reviews of the schedules also right before this segment. If you're watching the clip up of this, you can go watch the full episode. It'll be in the end screen, in the description, and all kinds of places. Make sure you guys like the video as well, since I'm advertising you to do stuff. Do that too. All right, starting a new series here, Tony. I do this on TikTok every so often. I go over a rivalry in depth that's in the news, that's in the cycle, and the one we're talking about today. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys are going at it to open our season on Thursday Night Football this year. The tradition, the defending Super Bowl champs, always opens the year on Thursday Night Football, week 1. Here we go. Eagles, Cowboys. It's a good one. I'm excited for the game. I know that these two teams have deep rivalries embedded, and it's a lot of fun. Player-to-player rivalries, team-to-team rivalries. I'm excited. So for this game announcement, at minimum, what's your thoughts? Do you think that they picked the right opponent for the Eagles to open up the season with?
I also would have been good with Commanders, right? Like I think if you're going to give them a divisional opponent, and I do think that Jaden Daniels he brings excitement with him.
Yeah, he's grabbed that. Yeah, he's grabbed the eyes.
People just need to understand that, like, the Cowboys, people watch the Dallas Cowboys, and that's why they get so many primetime games. And as long as they have starters worth it, like, this is what Jerry has built up. And it's why they get the moniker of America's team. It doesn't mean they're the best. It just means that they're the most identifiable with football, like, sort of nationwide. I don't know about globally, but I do know that, like, Cowboy fans are everywhere because of what happened in the 90s. So you had all these people loving what the Cowboys were in the 90s, and then they raised little Cowboy fans everywhere. So they're just like, you can't avoid them. As far as like the quality of the game, I think that the Eagles are a nightmare matchup for the Cowboys, and Saquon Barkley should be the first pick in every fantasy draft because he's rushing for 225 on opening night, Mike. Like, I just don't think that they've done enough to like stop the run. And I really like Donovan Azaraku, the pass rusher that they added, but I don't think he helps them out in the run game. Do you lose Tank Lawrence, who I think is one of the better run defending edge rushers? I don't think Micah Parsons is a stellar run defender by any means. The guy that kind of wanted the Chargers to sign, but he re-signed with the Cowboys on the inside.
Digizua?
Yes, Digizua. Yeah. He's a good player too, but like they need Mozzie Smith to hit this year. They need him to become that guy that, controls the middle of that offensive line. You're talking about the best offensive line in football, maybe, all 5 included, and Saquon Barkley to open up the season in Philadelphia. They just got Super Bowl rings. I'm talking 225 and 3 TDs. Like, he's winning fantasy weeks in week 1.
It's going to be nuts to start the year. I am glad that we're going to get to see Pickens and CeeDee Lamb like fully healthy, fully sane, fully put together versus this Eagles secondary. It's a very good secondary, so it's going to be a good test for them. Let's go over some of these stats, the all-time stats between the Eagles and the Cowboys, if these are accurate, and AI did not let me down, at least. So let me know, Cowboys fans, if I'm dead wrong on any of these. But they've played a total 132 times now, Tony, and 128 of those have been regular season games, and the Cowboys lead the series 73-55. That probably doesn't surprise you because the Cowboys obviously dominated the history, like you're saying, in the 90s. The point total in these, the Cowboys are up by 300 points overall all time as well. 2,930 points to 2,640. So the Eagles are going to need to come back on them in that one. And then they've played in the playoffs 4 times throughout history. The last one was in 2009. You got Cowboys, Eagles. Who was playing on the Cowboys then? Tony Romo versus who's the Eagles quarterback, you think?
That would have been Jason Witten for them.
Yep.
And 2009, that would have probably been
That's their first. That's probably their last playoff win.
Wait,
yeah.
Whose last playoff win?
I can't remember the Cowboys winning the playoffs in my adulthood, winning a playoff game. No, you're right. You're wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah, didn't they end Tom Brady's career or something?
Yeah, I'm dumb.
Yeah, no, they won a couple years. They've won a couple playoff games since then. They beat the Lions in that game where people thought that they got cheated in that. They've won some playoff games since then. They just haven't made it to the NFC Championship game. They haven't made it past that second round. I would say the 2009, that would have been Michael Vick in that game.
Yeah, probably, right?
Or somebody in that, like, I think that was maybe pre-Kevin Kolb.
I know you know about the 1995 Dallas Cowboys, right? They lost to the Niners.
Those Cowboy teams back in the day where it was like, even the players that don't get talked about as much as like the Jay Novacek at tight end, like he was a really good asset for them. They didn't throw the ball as much, but then like they just like Hall of Famemen scattered across the offensive line. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball, and like Charles Haley's one of those underrated guys. He played for 49ers and Cowboys in that era. Darren Woodson, who's another sort of like forgotten about safety, who's just a phenomenal player. And Dion was on one of those teams in the 90s there.
I'm trying to put this together. If this 95 team was the team Dion would be on, or the team that he went to San Fran. I know that he went from San Fran to Dallas, right? Or do you go from Dallas to San Fran?
Yeah, I'm a little foggy on the order of how that went.
Dion was on that Niner team in 94, 95.
Yeah.
And then left for the Cowboys. And he's probably on this team too. Yeah.
Yeah, went to the Cowboys. And
there's another one in the early 90s. Cowboys won the Super Bowl this year that they beat the Eagles on the way there. And then the 1980 NFC Championships, the furthest into the playoffs that these two teams have played each other. And the Eagles actually won that one. I think that was
Ron Jaworski and
maybe Ron Jaworski,
yeah, I think it was Ron Jaworski, and the quarterback was
Cunningham's a couple years later, huh?
Who was it? Was it Danny White? Who was the quarterback for the Cowboys?
Oh, you're probably right, Danny White. You're probably right. Damn, Tony. You're probably right. Well, you can fact check this, y'all, in the comments.
I wasn't, for the record, guys. I wasn't born in 1980. A couple years later, but I was not. I didn't watch that game.
But here's where things have gotten more interesting, Tony. In their last 10 games, the Cowboys have won 5. The Eagles have won 5. They haven't played in the postseason in their last 10 matchups, but so they are tied at 2,930 points scored each in those last 10 games. Or no, 262. I'm completely fucking this up, Tony. The Cowboys scored 262 points, and the Eagles have scored 263 points in the last 10 games. So through all of my butchering and chopping here, the Cowboys and Eagles are literally even over the last 5 years or so. We're talking about the end of like Zeke's best years. I think that the first game in this set of 10 games is Jalen Hurts' first game versus the Cowboys. And he threw like one pass in that game. I want to say it was just like a trick play. Right? Am I tripping?
Which one? Who is that about?
It's saying that the first game of these 10 games was in 2020. So I'm thinking that's Jalen Hurts' rookie year. And I remember that he completed his first pass against the Cowboys. He just randomly came in, right? He just randomly came in for Carson Wentz. And they were running like a trick play. And then he threw like a 25-yard pass. I remember all the Eagles fans and Cowboys fans were like, this guy should be starting over Carson Wentz already.
I do remember in that game, I think they played like the Saints the next week. And I was like, the Saints are going to destroy the Eagles. And then it was like Philadelphia like crushed the Saints. And whatever podcast I was on at that time, they're like, so you really picked Taysom Hill to win the game? Like yeah. In retrospect, it was probably a bad pick for the week.
Well, we didn't know that Jalen Hurts was going to become what he became for the Eagles. But anyways, this rivalry is heated. It's a good one. Eagles, Cowboys. Next time we're going to go over something a little bit more in-depth, Tony. I like to go player to player usually when I do these. So I'm going to try and come up with some good ones for you to present, and we'll go over some history together.
So really quick, I would say just even over the last 10 years, you have 2 Super Bowl wins for the Eagles, 3 Super Bowl appearances. And I think that you can see how even these teams have been, in the stats you presented. And I think the one difference is just the leadership that's been on the side of the Eagles, because it's not exactly like there's a huge talent disparity. Like the Cowboys draft well. I mean, go through and look at all the 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks that the Cowboys have done really well. The same thing with the Eagles. We give more credit to Howie, sort of as fans in the media and stuff like that. But the Cowboys have had really good teams. But when you go to like what does the leadership look like on this? Like the Jason Kelce's, Fletcher Cox, the players that have been through all this stuff, and then the offensive linemen growing through that era of like Lane Johnson and the stability and just what these guys do. And then the fact that like they don't have a lot of like circus around them like what the Cowboys do. And the expectation, like their expectation is to show up, work hard, and kick ass. Like that's what you want your expectation.
You're right. It's one of my biggest worries for the Cowboys as a whole this year is that you fired the hard-nosed coach that was probably being hard on the players, which is why they were getting a little upset and a little flustered when they started to struggle. And now you and I already seen clips at the golf course when they were making the schedule release video or stream or whatever of the coach taking shots with the players. It was a shoddy is what he called it. So these type of things that you're talking about, I have major concerns. You're telling me that this guy that's taking shots with CeeDee Lamb is also going to on Sunday put CeeDee Lamb and Pickens in their place and get them to relax. We got to get the run game established if we want any chance this week.
Well, so the thing is like, I'm more concerned about the Cowboys because you just have a lot of unknown, but the one thing we do know is that Jerry's going to find a microphone and start creating controversy. And that's exactly what you don't need. Yeah. Like
the Micah Parsons thing is just, if they don't get that settled by the season, that's just a fire waiting to start. That's just a fucking huge flame just waiting to ignite.
Well, on top of that, like imagine if George Pickens does something out of left field and Jerry comments on it, and I can't imagine that's going to go over real well. And Schottenheimer is one of those guys where it's like, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, he's going to be a coach at some point. But then it just never sort of materializes. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is the one job. Because if I don't recall a bunch of teams interviewing him, like I don't recall him being like I don't know.
I remember the Cowboys, I remember everyone talking about the Cowboys getting the top coaches available. Everyone that was being rumored to be a top coach was going to go to the Cowboys, and then all of a sudden they just didn't do anything.
Like if you just looked at the Cowboys on paper and you'd be like, hey, the offensive line's got some potential, right? Like I thought the center, the guy they brought in, what's it, BB? Interior guy from like Kansas State last year. I think Tyler Smith's a really good player, and Tyler Booker's, got a ton of talent there. And then you got some experienced tackles. So like the offensive line could be good. Running back's a question, but you bring in George Pickens and Ferguson's a nice player. Then you go to the defensive side, and it's like I thought Chavon Ravel was a good pick, and it depends on how Diggs comes back from injury.
Lang going to be healthy, yeah.
Yeah, what's the safety room look like, and how we doing at linebacker?
I think they're going to be a really good team in 2027. I do.
But again, it's like
this is a team that's positioning well to trade for a disgruntled, top-notch quarterback that becomes available. I don't know who. Someone get pissed off and want to go to the Cowboys because they got Dak, they got draft capital, and now they got a bunch of young stars. But it's going to be crazy for this season. I think we're going to see some.
They just signed Dak to this like mega deal, and they're on the hook for a bunch of cap.
I know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Like, I think the path is Cowboys, maybe like the best path is they bottom out this year and they have a top 4 pick and they land a quarterback that they can have there who sits for a year behind Dak. The team starts rebuilding, maybe sits another year behind Dak. And then year 3, they move on. Dak gets traded or whatever it is, and he moves on. And then they're starting that way. But that's like 2-3 years down the road. And you say that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to write Joe Milton into these plans, though, Tony.
I mean, it could. The Cowboys are one of those teams that have had some of the best quarterback luck over the last 20 years. Like Romo, that was not supposed to be the answer. Dak Prescott, I don't believe that was supposed to work out how it is. And Dak's been a very good quarterback. Like if you told me like next year going in, like, well, the Cowboys are 100% trading Dak, there'll probably be like 5 or 6 teams that are like, I'll sign up for that in a second.
Yeah. That's what I was saying too. In my video when I was talking about the George Pickens trade, is that we got a QB shortage right now. Teams need quarterback, and he's a average to above average quarterback still. Just not gonna. Like,
if you're the Dolphins next offseason, are you telling me that you wouldn't be like, hey, let's go in this direction?
Yeah. Well, there you go, Tony. That's the Cowboys versus the Eagles, week 1. I got the Eagles in that game too. I know you're probably taking Philly, but we'll give our predictions closer to the game. I got to get us on to this last topic to close this out here. The Chargers full schedule reaction. You got 2 Chargers fans here. Our last Charger segments are doing the best on the channel right now. So thank you, Chargers fans, for supporting us and our content. Let's go over the schedule real quick. I'm just going to read it in order, if I can get this in order. But we got the Chiefs week 1 in Brazil. Then from Brazil to Vegas, like 10 days later, we're getting a nice little break there. Friday to Monday Night Football against the Raiders in Vegas. Broncos week 3. You heard me right. We're going AFC West, AFC West, AFC West. They're coming to LA. Then we're going to New York. Then Dallas is coming home. Then we're going to Miami. There's a lot of traveling for the Chargers, especially in the first half of the schedule. Back-to-back home games, Colts and Vikings. Titans on the road, which is a game that I'm looking at and want to go to. Steelers at home, and then Jaguars on the road, which is a game that I'm looking at and want to go on the road to. Then the Chargers got the bye week, so that works out well for me, Tony. I go on the road with the Chargers for 3 weeks, and then we get to take a nice little break at home before the Raiders come home to our home, not their home, which by then the Raiders will be so bad that no Raiders fans will even show up to that. Eagles, that's a primetime game also. That's going to be a fun one. Then we got the Chiefs on the road, Cowboys on the road, Texans at home, and Broncos week 18 to close the year. Those last 2 games, and you got to beat the Cowboys too, but those last 2 games could be seeding games there for the Chargers in the AFC playoff picture. That's the full Chargers schedule. We have 5 primetime games scheduled right now. I think more could get flexed in. I think we're the second most primetime games along with the Cowboys, only behind the Chiefs this year, or maybe we're 3rd. It's a fun schedule, especially as fans that like to go to the games a lot, Tony. This is a lot of fun. And I'm glad that all the Chargers' most difficult games, in my opinion, are at home. Let's have them all here in LA. Let's have them in the heat.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's great news for us and for the fans, and hopefully the fans can continue to get out to as many games as they can. I can't. It's almost like the NFL, they don't really care about the fans going to the games because they're making so much of their money on the advertisement dollars that of people just watching the games, right? So it's not conducive. It's a huge stadium. It's easy for away fans to fly in, but if you can afford to go to a game, it's worth it. Like, it is so much fun, and you can go home and watch the replay like I do. I'm also like a nutcase about Chargers.
Yeah,
football,
and for Chargers fans specifically, and Rams fans too, I'm telling you guys, man, you could trust me on this. If you don't mind sitting in the cheap seats for a lot of these games, just wait until closer to the game. Yep. Those tickets, they drop off the face of the earth once the Chargers realize they're not going to sell them. Like, almost free.
Yeah, you definitely can in the like 400 and 500 section find really great deals to bring the whole family to that. But like, I look at this and it's like, of the teams that travel really well, like I think that we could see some of these home games where it's like Steelers fans in week 10, it's Sunday Night Football. That's kind of good to be on Sunday Night Football. Maybe there's a few less terrible towels that can travel because they got work on Monday. Although
that's what I'm thinking about that Vegas game, because I normally would go to Vegas for the game, but I will never go to a Vegas night game. I already have written that down on my board as something that I won't do. So this is the first one where it's like, I mean, I did go to the 63-point one. That was kind of when I said no more of this. So to see this on the schedule, it's almost giving me a free excuse not to go. Thank goodness.
So I think that like the thing that I really like about the schedule is like, if you watch really good NFL teams, they're ramping up towards something, and then the really good teams start to play that way in like early November and really turn it on post Thanksgiving. That's the old Belichick adage. But I think there's an opportunity for them to like really start to form like a tough like run first identity, because last year when we watched, it's like if you listen to the people on TV, they're like, Harbaugh teams, they want to run the ball and they're a running football team and this is what they do. And it's like, yeah, maybe this is what they wanted to do, but they weren't actually very efficient or effective with it last year. And that was like, it was part of the issue. And it was like, it kind of hurt the passing game, because if you're not effectively running the football, then the play action fake has a lot less teeth. There's not really any bite in it there. And so I think that they've done a tremendous job of getting people that are going to be able to win vertically down the field, which is what the style of this offense is going to want to be. And that's in all three parts, the X to the Y to the Z, all those spots are going to have people in them each week that can win vertically. And a little more like extra playmakers at the tight end position, adding Amari and Hampton, where it's like, I don't know how deep you want me to dive into this, but I watch a lot of Chargers content and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of fans that are ready to give Omari and Hampton RB1. Guys, this is Najee's job. Like, he's going to be the player that I think starts off the season and is just really setting a tone and helping get us to the point that we want the run game to get to, with Omari and Hampton still having explosive plays in there. Like, these veterans are going to get chances. Like, Tyler Conklin's going to be a good player in this offense. And Mike Williams is going to have some moments. We hope that he stays healthy as long as he possibly can. Like, these players, like Quentin Johnston's going to get another chance to improve and take another stride this year, which is a good thing if he does that. Like, that only adds to the amount there. The thing that when I looked at this was like, I'm so happy about the Week 12 bye. I don't know how the players feel about it, but from a fan perspective, like, I really like that late bye in that time where it's like, I kind of, as a fan, I get to just relax and Christmas shop and like, just like not really like overly worry about how things are going for the team or people's injuries or whatever.
I also think for the playoff push, it's good to just have like all right, we're on the playoff push now. Let's go. This is our schedule. Is what we got to do. Yep.
That final 5 weeks, and then you come back with a division opponent with the Raiders, who I think at that point, if they're healthy enough, will have started to find their identity, right? Where it's like they have started to figure things out, like, and flush things out. Their young players are in it, and that will be a tough game in SoFi there. But then you get Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos for those final four. You're going to find out what kind of team you could potentially have for a playoff push, where it's like, those are 4 games. 3 of them are on the road. That's a tough December, January part of the season. And
you gotta play the team that eliminated you last year. There's a little mental hump as well to get over right before the end of the season. I'm with you. I think that we definitely have a tough last month. That's for sure.
It'll be interesting to see, like, all of, like, let's say that, everything's even, like everybody's healthy in these final 4 weeks. A healthy Cowboys team that's had now 15 weeks to prepare is going to be a good team. Like, Schottenheimer is going to be able to put together a run game, most likely, especially if he goes out there and signs, a J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb or somebody like that, like, adds them to the roster. And now you have healthy wide receiving options out there. But I love the way the schedule's set up at the beginning of the year. And I'm a big fan of Chiefs, Chargers, week 1 in Brazil, like, neutral site. So somebody, I forget who it was saying, like, these neutral site games, they're almost like Super Bowl preparation, neutral field, both teams out of their element. And you get that opportunity and that experience to see what it's like to be preparing for a big primetime evening game out of wherever. Now, granted, it's out of the country. I hope they don't start playing Super Bowls in London and Brazil and all these places. I really don't. But like, I'm sure they will too. As soon as somebody will give them enough money to export our favorite product overseas, they will.
Yikes.
But like, for right now, this is a good opportunity, good learning, and they come back and they get extra time to study the film and everything, and recover for preparing for the Raiders, who in that point, the Raiders,
the rivalry game,
figuring things out at that point, right? Like, still trying to get things right with Genty.
You thought that this Raiders-Chargers rivalry was heated before. Wait until you get Harbaugh and Pete Carroll now at the head of the freaking rivalry. It's gonna be something that's fun to watch. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the San Francisco versus Seattle days, but that rivalry was one of my favorite rivalries in NFL history, honestly. That little period of the LOB Seahawks versus those Harbaugh 49ers, man, they were going at it for like a 3 to 5 year time period, and it seemed like that was the two teams to beat in the NFC, and they're in the same division.
So really quick too, another interesting thing about the Chargers Raiders thing, like for the fans, right? That's going to kick up here is in the first round, the Raiders take Genty and the Chargers take Omarion Hampton.
Look better in that game, right?
Their careers are going to be compared next to each other for whatever. Then you go to the second round. It's like, well, the Raiders trade back a few times. Yeah. The Chargers at 55 draft Trey Harris. A couple picks later, as the Raiders traded back, they draft Jack Besh. So now you have these two wide receivers where their careers are going to kind of be in this similar.
Well, Pete Carroll's been copying Harbaugh's entire career since the beginning. It's just been following this guy around like a stalker. It's kind of weird. I have a video coming out on it. Like, it's creepy how many times Carroll has went right to where Harbaugh's doorstep is and knocked on it and said, "Hello, I'm here."
Well, it is going to be fun. I think they're both completely different people than they were 20 years ago when all of the heat went down between these two. But like, it does make it a lot of fun. Games I'm excited to go to.
Commanders.
Wedding. I am going to try to be at that Commanders game 100%. I most likely will be at the Broncos game in week 3. The road game my wife and I talked about going to, it falls on our wedding anniversary this year. I believe it's 14 years this year. Will be.
Damn, congrats, Tony.
Tennessee. And we were talking about going to Tennessee already. And so now it falls on that time. So we're talking about flying out to Tennessee for the weekend and having some fun and going out there and cheering on the Bolts in Nashville.
Well, I'll be there too, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm saying, because did my taxes recently, and turns out I need to travel more. So let's go. I'll be there in Tennessee with you. I also want to go to Jacksonville. I want to just go feel the vibe out there in Florida. And I've gone to the Buccaneer Stadium. I've gone to the Dolphin Stadium. I've gone to the Jaguars training camp facilities. I haven't seen no football played in that damn state. Every time I go, it's off season. And I just see things that I never get to see any football played there. Also, I want to see some Travis Hunter. I want to see Travis Hunter his rookie year. I want to be able to say, like, yeah, I saw that guy his first year when he started doing that. And I think by this time, we will fully see what the Jaguars have planned for the kid. Man, anything else here I should cover before I forget? Oh, one thing that we are forgetting, the Chargers are also on first in the preseason for the Hall of Fame game a week ahead of the preseason. So I'm planning on going to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've already got, to leak. I don't want to say anything before it's sealed in. I've got reps from the Hall of Fame, multiple reps from the Hall of Fame, trying to hook up with your boy on some kind of content thing. So meeting next week, Tony. I'm going to keep you updated, but we might be getting some good Hall of Fame content for the channel.
I would love that. That would be fantastic. Right now, 3 preseason games. For some reason, I thought that the team who played in the Hall of Fame game played a 4th preseason game like it used to be, right? But it says now there's only 3 on there. I did notice that like a lot of teams the schedule is looking at only had 2 preseason games listed. Maybe they haven't announced a 3rd, but I always thought it was 3 preseason games. Is that not the case anymore? Did they drop
I
it
thought
to 2?
Oh yeah, no, I think they did drop it to 2.
Okay. All right.
I think
That's
it's
new.
3. I think the Chargers have 3 with the extra game, I think.
Well, because the last preseason game that's listed on here is August 16th. Then they don't play again until September 5th. Usually there's another weekend. There would be like another weekend of preseason action
I think it's 2.
like through the 24th. Then there would be the holiday weekend would be off, and then the season kicks off.
I like the preseason.
That following week. I really like it too. Like
We're nerds. We are complete football nerds that we want to see the 7 stringers play. We think that we know the mini storylines these guys have.
So for me, a lot of times it's like, because I do get so involved in the draft and I'm pretty familiar with sort of the top 200-ish players.
Yeah.
It's like, I like to go and watch all of the games back on the condensed thing each week to look for the guys. Like you kind of go box score watch, like see who got enough snaps, and then go watch that game and keep an eye out for them and see like, hey, how did this work out for them? How are they used? How they, how was this? If this also helps out for fantasy people, this was my Bucky Irving thing last year where I was like, hey, this Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker look like the best running backs on the Bucs, and in a super deep league, I ended up with Sean Tucker, and in another league that I won, I ended up with Bucky Irving on the roster. So you find some fantasy draft worthy players watching the preseason.
We're glitching out a lot, Tony. I don't know if you notice it. Is it happening on your end?
Yeah, you are.
So same thing on this end. You're glitching out. So I think that's a good time to call it. That's the man up above, the football god, saying, hey, Mike, it's time. Call it. You've been talking for an hour and a half. Well, that's our full schedule release reactions. We'll be talking more next week about the NFL and the schedule release. Also, next week, I want to bring to y'all our perfect landing spots for free agents. That was planned for today, but we will save these topics for our next episode sometime next week. Thank you for tuning in to the full episode of the NFLMike's Corner podcast. I think this is episode 7 or 8. I don't even know which one we're on. We're going to keep it going. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already before you forget.
Bill Flames, I'm with Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.